Hello, this is the bridge operator. Who do we have just connecting there?
Hi, this is Jennifer.
Perfect. All right. And you can see the class and you can hear me. You're on mute at the moment.
Yes.
Beautiful. I'm just going to update your name here on the bridge. We receive content right now. They're sharing. You actually see probably in the larger portion. We receive content right now. They're sharing.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jason,
You actually see probably in the larger portion. How we receive content right now. They're sharing.
Jason, can you hear me?
Yes, but we're hearing feedback. How are you?
Jason,
You actually see probably in the larger portion. So, are you streaming the global class right now? Can you mute the page, please? Sandeep? I can't hear you. Loop back happening, I think, from the webcast coming. Very important that we're not sharing the webcam to the VC, please. Hello, Steve. Are you there? Can you hear me? Hello, Sandeep.
Hey, Jason, how are you?
So here's Matt Warburton, Durham College graduate, 1983. He worked with various design firms in Toronto and Vancouver before running his own firm for 15 plus years. So he graduated from Durham College in 1983. So a while ago.
Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
He's been the design manager at the University of British Columbia.
Yes, I can.
So Jason, we have a remote participant in London, and he's trying to dial in, and it says like the error he's getting is like the VMR has a wrong number, like the number does not exist or
There's some
something.
more here.
How is he trying to join?
Through software. And I have
RPD?
tested it last week, and it was working.
Raise a hand.
And it's all working for us. So he's doing some, sorry to say it, but there's a user error there. Does he want to call the main line and ask for Brian or Sumo? Because
Somebody who's reviewed the material.
Oh, okay. So I have given your contact details to him. Probably he's going to call your toll-free number there.
Doesn't have to be much.
All right.
Okay, just
Okay.
teach them a little bit.
Okay.
Can you explain
right,
a little bit?
thank you.
Sure. Okay. So, do you want to stand? Go ahead and stand up at that.
Hi, Matt.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hi, Matt?
Yep. Can you hear me?
You can hear me, looks like it. I can't hear you, so we're just going to make sure you've selected your microphone. At the top, on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see...
I can hear.
Go to your icon at the top, and you're good for your camera. You just need to switch your microphone. So if you want to go ahead, one second. All right, check your. All right, good. So good. All right, thank you. Looks like we're just waiting for a couple more. You're all good. If you want to tilt your camera down just like a centimeter to cut out that light, beautiful. Yeah, that's. You could probably go up a bit more as you don't cut off your head back a bit.
I know there's a top of my head.
And we have Freelance who joined us.
I even cleaned my, so it would look really fancy.
It's like we have somebody in the green screen room there over there. I mean, we have some green screen. Oh, there we go. And is that Bob?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Wheeler, how are you doing, sir? Looks like you.
I'm fine. I just had a few little tech problems, but I'm. Can you hear me? All right?
Yeah. Once you get all settled in, we're hearing a bit of a rustling, but as you're just getting all settled in, go ahead and check again. Go ahead. Sorry. Oh, there it is. It's still kind of cutting in and out. If you can give us a solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 count, but make sounds in between. So like carry on the 1, 2, 3, and we'll cuts out at all.
5. I may need to change the microphone.
Yeah, that didn't work at all. We got 1, a half a 2, and maybe a half of a 5 there.
Okay. So where?
What microphone? Oh, I think, okay, so you're using the application real present. So bottom right hand corner on the app, you've got the 3 icons for the settings. Then go to the gear icon. Follow up with you.
So it's the...
So the 3 little buttons brings up the menu. Then you got the gear icon at the top. You'll see your microphones, speakers, all that jazz there for you.
Yep. Oh, so
and it looks like... Right, Cameron, who just joined us?
Yeah, it's Cameron here.
Beautiful. Just update your name here, and it looks like I have everyone.
You can hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah, hear you, no problem. Yeah.
Oh, no, we're missing one more site, Turkey. And let's go back with Bob's phone. Bob, you want to give us, did you switch the mic? You want to give us a 5 count?
I think it's on. Not used this before. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you want to just put it on the table. Oh, so okay, and tap it with your finger, and we'll see if that, or scratch your fingernail. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so give us a 5 count.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Beautiful. Love it.
Good.
That was great. Thank you. All right, so we're just waiting for one more location.
So with the slides I sent you, will you control them or do I?
I believe, I'm hoping, in the global class, they have your slides. So I believe Sandeep on site will be advancing the slides for you. It's always the best way, so that way you don't have to share and then someone else has to share just one location kind of advancing slides, so you can use audible cues.
Okay.
In the global class, they have your slides. So I believe Sandeep on site will be advancing the slides for you. So Sandeep, it seems like you guys are sharing content and the webcast. Sandeep, before anything else happens, it's very important that you start streaming the webcast. So Lon, can I have your attention? That laptop is plugged in to the VC unit, and so can you stop the webcast on the laptop, please?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here, Jason. I'm just talking to my students.
Yeah, no worries, sorry. So can you go to your MacBook and stop streaming the webcast, please, because it's feeding back in through the codec.
Oh, sure. I'm just going to close my... Okay, that's interesting.
You'll still be sharing content for the class, right? Just make sure you're not streaming the webcast anywhere.
Sure. Let me do that now. I'll shut the the webcast.
Cast, please, because it's feeding theirs.
Stop just a second and then mute it. Okay.
You can mute
and.
and.
Then we have it streaming from 2 other places, so I'll make sure that that's stopped. Let me do that now.
Oh.
And muted. And then one more place would
No.
be on the...
No. Well, Lon, every time you reload the page, every time you reload that page, your muting doesn't hold. Like, I don't understand. Are you guys going to have the webcast streaming on that laptop into the VC?
No,
or?
I want to be showing images from the class page on the website during the live class, but I don't want to be... No. Hold on, every time you reload the...
See, it's feeding back into the call. Somebody is now streaming it back in again. So I believe that Rustu just joined us from Turkey. I think you're also streaming
during
the webcast.
Live class, but I don't want to be... No. Hold on.
See, it's feeding back into the call. Somebody is now streaming it back in again. Hello, Mr. Ataman. Can you hear me? Just joined us from Turkey. I think you're also streaming the webcast. Can you hear me, sir? See, it's feeding back into the call. Somebody is now streaming.
I feel like I'm on Apollo 9 mission or something.
This is okay. So, Mr. Rustu Ataman, can you please wave your hand if you can hear me? Can you wave your hand if you can hear me, sir? In Turkey, can you wave your hand? Can you wave your hand? So you cannot hear us. Yeah. So can we reach out? We'll have to reach out to Mr. Ataman because he is streaming the webcast back into the video conference, and he can't hear us. So disconnect him. What is the quickest way to contact Mr. Ataman? Make sure that he stops the webcast and then dials back in. So, I don't have his contact. Disconnect him.
So he's also running the webcast as well?
The streaming. So he joined. What is the quickest way to contact Mr. Now we're streaming it again. Lon. Make sure that he stops the webcast and then dials back again into the PC. Lon, I don't have his contact. Disconnect him. Lon, please stop the webcast streaming on the VC, please. Just going to reiterate, anybody who's dialed to a video conference should not be streaming the webcast. If you're dialed in to a live conference, do not stream the webcast on your laptop, or just like a radio, it will feed right back into the webcast and make it, please.
Good.
You want the email address of the gentleman in Turkey?
Video conference, do not stream the webcast on your laptop. Can you hear me?
Hello, this is Rushdi Ataman. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you too.
Perfect. It's extremely important that you close the webcast page, or very much you have to mute the webcast because we're hearing ourselves coming back to ourselves again, like a radio station with echo. We're hearing that from your location,
Okay,
so you have to open
understand.
up.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Okay. So I can still hear us looping back. So please follow my instructions clearly.
Yes, I can
Open
hear you.
up. Oh, sir. Open up your that you close the webcast. Can you close the webcast page, please? Can you hear? You're on a video conference, and then on the web page there's a webcast. You must close the web page and the webcast, please. Open up. Oh, perfect. Open up your. That you close the webcast. Close the webcast.
Okay, I closed it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. It's very important.
welcome.
I'm still hearing it though. There's the thing. I'm still hearing it, and so it's not closed. Future site, it goes away.
Actually, I closed it.
Okay, so all right. Lon or Sandeep?
Yep.
Okay. We're having a lot of technical difficulties because everyone is streaming while you are streaming the webcast again into the video conference, creating a loop. Can we please stop doing that?
Okay, so it's now.
Beg you.
Jason? Oh, okay.
Okay, so yours is stopped. I'm going to keep talking to see if we get any loop back from any other locations. Can you keep yourself unmuted? Okay, never mind. Right. All right, I think we finally isolated all of the webcast players and they are muted or closed.
Have to actually do that a little more manually. We'll still be able to show the images, but I just need to prep something, okay? So like 2 or 3 minutes. And other deal. All that means is all of these people on the live stream are going to fill the entire screen and there won't be any images shown and we'll just talk. But if we can show some images, then that's going to squeeze to 50% and we'll have an image up there and we'll still talk. But the more important thing I found with the global class is don't get hung up on all the stuff that we're showing, like images and video. Get hung up on the interaction. This is the time to talk, you know. So if we don't even show a picture in the end, who cares? You can see all of that stuff on the class page afterwards, okay? But what's important is we've got great high definition connections, and that's looking good. So have we solved this? Essentially, we're good?
I think we're safe, yep.
Yeah, Jason, great work. Okay, so I think just give me a second, because I'm going to pull up a few images, PDFs. I don't need to do that anymore.
No, it's like right now if somebody's watching live stream, they're just 50% of your desktop.
Oh, yeah, so let's go. Yeah, thanks, Sandeep.
All right. Yeah, I'm good now. I can see. Yeah.
So just give me 2 seconds, and welcome, everybody. You can hear me. It's Lon Appleby. I'm over here just stick-handling a little bit with our technical team. So I will introduce everybody in a moment. I just need to finish this problem that Jason and our team have just solved. But thank you all for getting set up and working through this with us. You can see we're ready. Rustu, Jennifer, Bob, Cameron, Matt, we've been spending the last half an hour or so going through your accomplishments as Durham College grads. So I'll talk a bit more in a second. So if, by the way, since our mic is live, and since, you know what, guys? Feel free to talk to them if you want, you know. And Rustu, do you just want to raise your thumb if you can hear me clearly? Just raise your thumb. Lovely. Jennifer, same. Raise a thumb. Can you hear me? Yeah. Bob, same. Cameron, can you hear me? Good. Matt? Okay, excellent. Okay, so this is golden, guys. This is what the global class is about. To hell with all the images. They're beautiful images, particularly Bob, the stuff you sent from London, with the guy standing on a wind turbine or something. I don't know. Anyways, we'll get to those, but to them now while I solve this, and then we will officially start the class in 5 minutes, okay? Your microphone, by the way, the class microphone, is live now. That's the green thing sitting there. This is going to be Don's microphone here. So I'm going to stop talking for a moment. Go ahead and talk to them if you want.
So, Lon,
I got a question for the class. What is this? What are these? What course are these students in? What's the program, or what are they taking?
You know what, Matt? I'm going to play completely innocent, ignorant, stupid, and say I have no clue, even though I do.
You're a perfect teacher.
Yeah.
You're just like the instructors we had then.
Yeah. So, somebody go ahead. Abhinav, you want to try? Usually it's students who come, they're the braver ones. You tell them what you do.
Sure. So all of us are here for the global class. So basically, the reason I took the course is because I wanted different perspectives, and I felt that the description of the course explained to us that we'd be discussing real issues with different perspectives, different regions of the world, with different people from different regions of the world, so they could give us their perspective. So it's basically meeting from around the world, but you're in the same space every time. So we come to the same class, but each time we meet people from different parts of the world who are in different kinds of jobs, who have different perspectives, different lives, different social standings, all that. So it gives a very holistic image and a holistic perspective to what we're trying to achieve, which is understanding different perspectives and trying to simplify the chaos. So I believe. Yeah.
Who else wants to address that? We haven't even started the class yet, and we're already having a class. That, to me, is a sign that this thing is working. So let's, first of all, I'll take care of a practical thing. Let's fill these tables so that our guests are not seeing empty tables, and that our live stream viewers are not seeing empty things. So there's lots of people. Come on in. Join the class. And if you don't want to, then come closer and come sit in here, okay, guys? That's great. Sure, come on in here. Thanks. Great stuff. Sally, you want to anywhere, and then we can. Yeah. This, by the way, is our senior alumni development officer, Sally Hillis.
Hello,
who
everyone.
set everything up and connected you with all of these successful global graduates.
Hi, Grant.
Okay, so that's great. And we have an extra, who wants to be brave enough and park themselves here? Gregory Kent, he's doing the chat. Why don't I just pick some? Great, come on up. Okay, excellent. So we can. Okay, so while, and what's your name?
Rima.
Rima, yeah, Rima. So while Rima's coming up and Sasha's taking her seat, yeah, come on over here. Does anybody else want to answer, Matt? Who are you? Where do you come? Like, what program are you? Sasha? You can even stand, and the microphone's there, and just tell him right now.
What's his name? Sorry.
His name is Matt.
Hi, Matt. My name's Shoshana Allen. I'm currently going to Durham College for Public Relations, and I'm pretty excited for that. Yeah, that's all right. Did I need to?
Raise a
So
thumb.
long. So all these
you.
students are taking actually different courses, and this is just a course they take in addition to their regular program.
Yes, this is a general education elective called the Global Class.
Okay. Yeah.
That they take. However, what's happening? I want to just pan a little bit over, so I'll kind of, because Don's going to come and take the host. He's the official host in a moment. Yeah, great. Okay. Matt, just before I just want to make sure, doubly sure, as I speak like this, everybody, Jennifer, Bob, Cameron, Rusty, Matt, raise a thumb at the same time. You're all hearing me clearly, right? Beautiful. Okay. Well, there we go. Then let's, Matt, your question will be answered. I'm just going to get Don ready for this because
okay.
This is the host's globe. It goes here.
It goes there. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody.
So we're ready. We can go. We're all set, basically, unless, hold on, Don, 2 seconds. Off is not for another 60 seconds. So,
all right, count down 60
count
seconds, okay?
Okay. But I just want to make sure everybody's good. Gregory, we've got our live chat feature going up there for viewers, and we know there are right now something around 200 out there when I checked. And so that's what's going there. Phones off, laptops down. Best, you know, class now, you're here to learn, and you want to get your money's worth in this hour. So, you know, eyeballs on the screen with everybody, and I think we're good. Gregory, we're okay? Excellent.
We're good to go.
So why don't we lift off early, since this is Canada, and we like to do things sort of ahead of everybody else for a change. Okay, Don?
According to my watch,
yeah.
it's been, we've had liftoff. So good morning, good afternoon, hello students, and also a number of colleagues in the class behind me, and those that I think about as I walked in. We have Chris Vale, the president of our Alumni Association. Chris is back there, as are some of our staff from our alumni office, Sally, Jennifer, Lisa, and Isabella. I also see behind me Scott Blakey, who is our Chief Administrative Officer. Who else did I see in here? So it's nice to have some colleagues here. I think we have some professors in the room too, and a lot of bright students and eager students here this morning. So welcome to all of you. And script here in front of me, it says that I'm supposed to introduce the 5 of you, but I think you probably do your introductions better than I. So we have Matt in Vancouver, and Rastu in Istanbul, Cameron in Tokyo, Jennifer in Budapest, and Bob in London. So why don't we just start with you, Matt, and who are you, and what took you to where you are today? Where'd you graduate from? A little bit of background. Take a, if you would.
Okay. Hey guys. I attended Durham College from 1980 to 83. Taking the graphic design program with my buddy Bob, who's in England now. Journey from there was worked in Toronto for a few years. Early days of pre-computer graphic design and that type of thing, typesetting by hand and all that kind of stuff. Then in 1989, the call of the mountains and the snowboarding and the mountain biking drew me out west, and been out here ever since.
And what's your claim to fame?
Graphic design.
Yeah.
Yeah, basic graphic design. Bob and I actually designed the Durham College logo, so I guess that's a claim to fame.
It is.
Bob, can you come a little closer to the camera? Sorry, Matt. Just we're seeing a wall. It's Bob. We're seeing a lot of boring green wall, Bob, and not a great face. So shoulders,
trying to keep it
head,
small.
Shoulders. Let's move so we know who we're talking about here. And Jennifer, if possible, if you can bring your camera down to eye level, so we're not looking down at you like a surveillance camera, but we're looking straight at you.
Sure.
Bob, everyone else is good. Rustu, Cameron, you could come a little closer because you look like you're just in a white room.
A white
Okay,
box.
If you've seen a Tokyo apartment, you'll understand. That's it.
Good stuff. Okay.
All right. Well, so thanks, Matt. So we're going to go to Bob because Matt and Bob were partners, and this a couple years ago they were honored as alumni of distinction. So welcome to Bob also. And who are you, Bob? And what are you doing in England?
I graduated, as Matt said, in '83 in the graphics program, and was invited a few years later with Matt to work and design the logo for the college, and which we're very delighted to see it still being used. So, and to see the growth in the college, it was a very small place when we were there. So the growth is really tremendous. And I was drawn to, I was drawn to London by a conference I was taken to while at Durham in Toronto. There was an international design conference that took place, and Matt and I attended with a few other students. And we met some fantastic designers from London, and it really inspired me and planted the idea that I would like to work there one day. And that in London being one of the big international centers for design, and I felt compelled to come here and have a go, which proved to be very, very difficult at first. But I think the training at Durham, that was the reason.
You've been there for how many years?
Since the first Gulf War, so a long time. So the early 90s, I arrived here. I came here to work for a year, but met my wife here. So as usual, love conquers, and I remained. But it's a fantastic city and a great place to work, especially in design.
So tell us about the stamp that you're involved in designing.
Yeah, so about 2 or 3 years ago, I was invited by the Royal Mail, with the Royal Mail, to design a commemorative stamp for the Battle of Britain for the 75th, and put across a design. And both Matt and I share a great passion for stamps and stamp design, so it was one of the highlights of my career to get that. And it finished off that some of the surviving pilots were holding big blow-ups of the stamps at Buckingham Palace at a meeting with the Queen. So that was really nice to see a photograph of some of these heroes holding some of my work. So again, that was just an icing on a very big cake for me.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And Matt, I noticed you have is that a Toronto Maple Leafs poster behind you?
It is a spoof on the Toronto Maple Leafs. It was a poster from a Montreal design firm for an exhibit of Toronto designers' work in Montreal.
Okay.
So
I'm a Habs fan, so I'm a Habs fan. So if you can block that out, it'd really help me today.
I'm a Habs fan too. I hate the Leafs. Yeah.
That's not. Yeah. Wait a minute. I'm just going to add that as much as I have hated the Leafs, because I grew up in Toronto during the years when the Leafs were run into the ground, I am still a Leafs fan. So I feel like I should leave the class right now, but I'm going to stay because I want to make sure the Leafs are represented.
But I will acknowledge the Leafs are way more entertaining to watch than the Canucks these days. So.
Yeah. But you know that this year the colleges are celebrating 50 years anniversary, and it was 50 years ago that the Leafs also won the Cup. So I guess we have a birthday, and ours is more positive than the Leafs. 1967. It is true. Yes.
Yes.
So yes, it is.
I can tell.
Jennifer, go ahead.
So I can tell I'm back in Canada when it takes 5 minutes for hockey to come up as a conversation. Do I miss it?
We'll
yes.
talk about football later on, okay?
Hockey's number one.
Okay. Jennifer in Bucharest, how are you, and who are you? What are you doing there?
Yeah, I've been in Romania now for quite a long time. Pre-Durham College, actually. I started off here first as a volunteer out of high school. And it was actually being here and seeing the needs here that brought me to Durham College. Because I working in the orphanages and with children that were abandoned and had a lot of medical needs, I decided I needed to do nursing. And so I decided the best place to study that was at Durham College. So I went back to Canada. I graduated in 2004 from nursing. It's when we were in the old Simcoe building. Mm-hmm. So things have changed a lot. I was lucky enough to have a tour of the new facilities, and I'm really excited about how things have progressed there. And so since then, I've come back to Romania and have continued in charity work here.
And you've started a specific program there. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've started a couple. The first one was called Arms of Love, and that was working directly in state-run institutions, whether orphanages or hospitals, working with infants that had been abandoned. And this is really where I was able to use my nursing education from Durham College, because I was able to put in place care plans for each individual child. Because I don't know if people have seen old footage from Romanian orphanages, but the neglect was huge. And children that were born completely normal were coming out with huge handicaps just due to neglect, not because of how they were born or anything like that. And so we were able to put in care plans for each individual infant, each child. And I guess my career highlight would be having a meeting, and some of the top people in the room said that our program was better than some of the, well, I won't name names, but some of the big organizations that are known throughout the world. And that was really, really great to hear that we were able to have such impact, you know, and there was just little me against the big, well-known names from around the world. And that, yeah, it was definitely due to the educational background that I was able to put these into place. The other thing that we've started is called Break the Cycle, and it's working in urban centers with children living in extreme poverty. Even though Romania is part of the European Union now, there's huge pockets of poverty throughout the country, and a lot there from a Roma background, or Gypsy, as we might be more familiar with. And they don't have the same opportunities as other kids do. Even in the city, a lot of them are living in abandoned houses, no electricity, no heat, and our winters are the same as the ones in Toronto. So we started Break the Cycle, and it's trying to get these kids out of poverty, not just to give them handouts to make it better for today, but to actually break the cycle so that they can have a better future tomorrow. So we've started drop-in centers where we have after-school programs. We have a lot of educational programs that are happening, mother-baby programs that are happening, all aimed at changing the today and changing the tomorrow for these kids.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you for sharing that. And of course, you were given the Alumni Distinction Award in 2011. In 2012 for the Premier's Awards, and for that too. So congratulations. Let's just carry on with the introduction. Let's go to you, Rustu, in Istanbul.
Yes. So I was graduated in 2015 from Renewable Energy Technician program. Before then, I was working for University of Calgary. I was a researcher in anthropology, and I was working in Africa. And we were doing, this was in 2012, and we were doing some research on the Colobus monkeys, and then also Calgary was doing some charity activities around the villages. And they were building solar off-grid pumping systems, just support the villages. So I involved these projects, and it really inspired me because I was always want to be involved in green energy movements. So I decided to change my career path. And after a search among the Canadian colleges, and I chose Durham College because of its popularity and its good education. And then in 2013, I enrolled this Renewable Energy Technician program, and 2015. And then after that, I started working for this Turkish company, which is called Tiryaki Holding. They had a subsidiary in Ghana again, so I went to Ghana again, and I completed a research for them for solar projects in Ghana. They want to build 20 megawatt solar projects in Ghana, so I made a feasibility study for them. And because of some political issues and like regulatory issues in Ghana, so we hold this project for now. So my company has many projects in Turkey, solar projects, 30 megawatts. And now currently I'm managing all of these solar projects for Tiryaki Holding. And so right now I'm from Mersin, not Istanbul actually. In Mersin right now we are building one of the biggest solar projects in Turkey, which is 17 megawatts, both rooftop and ground completed. And so we are in the initial phases, but in 2 months we are planning to complete this project and connect our project, start producing electricity. And from there, we will move on our other projects, which is waiting for us in other parts of Turkey. So I'm very happy what I'm doing right now. I think I'm contributing to the world in green energy. And also, well, I'm very happy to be a graduate of Durham College. It really gave me an opportunity to realize my dream in working in this renewable energy sector in a very short period of time, just 2 years. I got my degree, and then I started working this huge project. So So I'm really satisfied what I did in Durham College and after my graduation.
Thank you for sharing that. Congratulations. Last but not least, we have Cameron Moreau. You've been in what, Tokyo about a week or 2 weeks, something like that?
Actually, a little bit longer. This week will mark my full month, my first month in Tokyo here. So far so good. I'll right back kind of to the beginning, right before graduation in my second year. So I took operations management at Durham College, graduated in 2012. I guess my working experience started just after my second year in the program. I actually participated in it's a popular internship within the program, and it's with a company called Celestica. They're a contract electrical manufacturer. So with them, I jumped right into a supply chain management role, working as a buyer and a planner, getting some experience there. I had the positive opportunity to go abroad with that company. I actually relocated to northern Mexico for a while, where I worked with one of their sister plants and shared best practices with them, so that was very good. After that stint was finished, I actually had the opportunity to finish up my final year of operations management in the school, working remotely for both the Toronto and Mexico sites with Celestica. So that was a pretty unique experience that I believe helped me out quite a bit. Right at graduation, which was in 2012, I put myself in front of a recruiter for a graduate program called the Maple Leaf Leadership Track program that they do for Maple Leaf Foods, and I was accepted. So what I got into was an opportunity where I had 3 years where I could actually go to 3 different leadership roles throughout that time, and just really build on my experiences, again, share best practices, and kind of demonstrate what I've learned within the college. So I started in a supervisory role, stepped right out of school, supervising about 35 people, all of which could have been my parents, which was a pretty unique experience. So they were very welcoming to me, but it had its challenges, but that was good. From there, I actually moved into an opportunity where Maple Leaf was. They were growing into a mega plant. So if you're not too familiar with Maple Leaf Foods, they're Canada's largest consumer foods producer for the protein business, and they were consolidating. They closed about 5 facilities across Canada to consolidate all of that volume into one mega plant. So I got onto a production commissioning program role where I actually did a lot of development. I took some practices from some of the existing facilities that were across the network, and I developed new processes and procedures on how to get the new facility going. Now, this was a pretty interesting experience because we went from a very tribal knowledge type business into the highest automated food production facility in North America. So there was a lot of learning to do involved with that. So I actually spent a good portion of that traveling across the U.S., mostly northern and eastern U.S., doing factory acceptance testing on some equipment that we were purchasing and bringing into Canada there at the new facility. Once we opened the plant, I actually got the role as senior production lead, which is like a production manager caliber position. So I ran about just shy of 200,000 square feet of that. I had about 5 different departments that I had built and ran for the first. And I was very proud to say that some of my departments were the very first of the business to actually hit their what we call business case throughput. So we actually were able to hit what we committed to hitting, and so that was good. Since then, my career changed a little bit. I stayed within the food industry, more of a hospitality side. I now work in airline catering. I work for a company called LSG Sky Chefs. I was based out of Toronto for about just over 2 years. as operations manager there. That has been an excellent experience. I've, being in the airline industry, they don't shy away from moving people around. So I think in my first there, I had been to Hong Kong twice, and just getting ready to go to Qingdao, China for the first time. So it was all over the map. Now in my role, I find that I'm going to be somewhere in Asia every 2 months. So there's a huge opportunity to share best practices here. Anyone who's familiar with the operations management background there, we focus a lot on lean manufacturing processes. And a little bit of history on lean manufacturing is that it was developed by the Japanese, by the Mecha Toyota. So when I was given the opportunity to relocate from Toronto as operations manager to Japan as director of operations for Japan, I thought it was pretty funny that I was like, okay, so I'm a guy from North America going to Japan to teach them lean manufacturing. Learn from them. So that's where I'm at now. It's been about 1 month. Just positive experience. Settling in nicely. So really good.
Thanks, Cameron. So on my agenda, Lon gave me 5 minutes for that. He's nervous as hell. He's just jumping around because I just bit into big time into his agenda. But just before we turn it over to Lon to facilitate the rest of this discussion, just a bit of context for all of you and for also the students. So it was a brainchild of our alumni association in this 50th year to connect and reconnect with our alumni. And we started a suggestion came to me, let's go out and go to workplaces and bring some coffee and brewing memories and sit and talk to and listen to our alumni. So I said, well, why just a few? It's 50 years, so let's do 50 of them. So I think right now we're sitting at about 40 of these alumni tours across the region, in Ottawa, Toronto. And today, as part of that, is reaching out to you as alumni to listen to your stories. And it's really a great opportunity for students to hear your stories today. So what we're doing with this Brewing Memories tour, it's been fascinating, like your stories. It's incredible to hear what our graduates do, what they've done with their education from Durham College, and in your proof that the world is really the opportunity. It's not just if you grew up in Oshawa, it's not just Oshawa. It's really the world, and so I appreciate you. This is the world. Thank you very much, Lon. Yeah, hold that now. Okay, is this it wasn't in the script?
No, but it's a moment of spontaneity, Don, just to kind of focus us.
Okay, all right. But we often in our remarks, we often remind our students that there are opportunities in the world, and so today is an opportunity to ask you questions about being an international employee and what that's like. And I'm going to shut up from there, and I'll turn it to Lon because he wants to ask you some questions too. So it's over to you, Lon,
that's
my
for
friend.
One of your grandkids.
Yeah, they have them.
No, I'm actually going to dispense with the lesson plan for the moment, as we often do. As all of you know, I guess, when you're managing things, you have your plan, and then when you're out there on the ice, you just skate with the way the game is unfolding.
Right.
The truth is, this is for the students, and I don't really want to talk much as I'd like to. I really want to get the students asking questions and interacting with all of you, because it's your stories of success based on having been at Durham College, that can be inspiring and empowering for these students. So they're going to have some questions. Maybe not. Maybe, as I mentioned at the beginning, everyone's going to freeze, and that's normal, as I said. But for the ones that are less frozen at the moment, at least inside, and want to ask a question, go ahead. We can start this. This is the real point of this class, is to interact with these guys. So I can go default with Abhinav, and I know he will start. And Rima, is there anything you want to ask?
I don't know. Hi, I'm Rima. I'm in my second year for advertising and marketing communications. I guess one of the things that I would want to ask is, being in advertising, and I know that we have a couple of people here are in design as well. How do you find, or how do you sort of navigate sort of the global opportunities that are available after finishing from Durham College? So I know it can be like super stressful, like between working in locally in Toronto or going to like Vancouver, such as you, Matt, or going to New York or going to London, or there's a lot of different opportunities. Sort of, how were you able to navigate sort of the grotesqueness of what was happening after you finished? There's a lot of things happening in the world right now, so I guess sort of, yeah, how was it like, you know, navigating for all of your programs, really, making the decision to go international?
Shall I?
Which one do you want to ask?
Sort of all of them. Maybe we'll start with,
go
like,
ahead.
Yeah.
So go ahead, and whoever wants to answer.
Shall I start?
Yeah.
I think when I left college, I had a real hunger to travel. That was really the bottom line, and the training I had allowed me to do that. I worked in Toronto for a few years, but I wanted to go and work in a big market, and I could get my parents are British, so I could get a passport to live in London, but equally Canadians are able to come to Britain and work. There's visas available for young people to work, and I think there's several 100,000 Canadians living in and around London. In fact, they take over Trafalgar Square on Canada Day and have road hockey matches and drink Molson Canadian, which is good fun. So it's much easier than you might think. I think it takes a bit of courage to buy the plane ticket and show up, and it's not easy. You have to walk a lot of miles and meet a lot of people in order to get a job, but eventually you'll crack something, and it gives you, it is a great opportunity, and I was able to also travel and work in Australia as well. So it's much easier than you might think. So don't be daunted by it. You're young, you can make a few mistakes, and just get on with it. Just do it.
So Bob, the second part of that question, and as others think about their answers, was that she referred to the unrest in the world and the craziness that we see in the media right now. And, you know, history will tell us there's always been unrest in the world. So when you went international, was that a consideration for you, the conflict that existed within a global perspective?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as I said, I left Canada just at the beginning of the first Gulf War, so it was a bit of a scary place. And where we were living, there was B-52 bombers taking off from British Air Force bases. And where I sit now, I'm about 200 meters from Borough Market, London Bridge, where the attacks happened a couple of months ago. So it's around you, and it's just something that happens in life. And we showed up to work the next day as soon as we could. In fact, we were locked out of our office for a day, but we all came back, and then our company organized a big piss up in the market just to put two fingers up to the terrorists. So I think you can't let that stop you. Life goes on, and it's a big world out there. There's lot to be seen. There's more good than bad, I think.
And certainly, Bob, I think when you went over to England, there was all the stuff with the IRA. Like there was, bombings, car bombings, and all that kind of stuff going on randomly in London back then. So some things never change, really.
Yeah, but in fact, yes, I've had ever since I've lived here. There's always been some form of terrorism going on, and it's just something that the British are very stoic, as you know, and they don't seem to get fazed by it very much.
Anybody else?
I can speak to the journey part, or embarking on your career in advertising or design. In some ways, I think we had it easy, as hard as it was, because when Bob and I graduated in '83, there was a major recession in Canada at the time, so it wasn't easy. But one of our instructors, John Freeman, had set up one of the first placement programs for us graphic design students. So all of the students who were in third year got placed at different design firms, advertising agencies. I got placed at a typesetting firm in Toronto. So a lot of us had got some experience while we were still in school, which was really, really unique then. I think it's much more common now to have those work placement experiences. But back then, it was really, really unique. And I mean, it certainly paid off for me because it got me my first job at Typecentra. But yeah, that was pretty good. But I think just the way that the industry was structured back then, it was a real sort of there was lots of stepping stones, and I think that's the big change that I see now is that students who graduate now, the expectations are so much higher than they were when we graduated. You know, you guys are expected to know so much more and to be so much more competent, and I think you are. You probably, you know, I teach part-time out here at BCIT and Emily Carr out here, and I just see the quality of the caliber of the students graduating and what they know. So I think you guys certainly come out a lot better equipped than we were. I think one of the best things that we were equipped with was one of our instructors. It was the one who actually helped organize that conference that Bob mentioned down in Toronto, that international conference. And his name was Dave Scatting. He's still at York University, I believe. And he basically threatened us. He said he'd fail us if we did not go to this conference. And it was $100. It was $100. It was $100 to go to that conference back in 1982. And that was a lot of money back then, you know, you're always a starving student. But that conference, having instructors like that who were, you know, willing to set up work placement programs, you know, encouraging us to go to conferences like that, giving us like real world instruction and guidance was key to that whole sort of Durham College education. And it certainly has served me well over the years. You don't come out of college thinking that you know everything. You come out knowing that I'm going to be learning for the rest of my life. That's something I've certainly carried through.
Thanks, Matt. Russ, too, you live in a part of the world that has seen a lot of media recently because of different events, and would you like to answer the two questions?
Yes, exactly. Things look like different from outside than from inside. For example, now I'm living in a very turmoil area. Too many terrorist attacks incoming, going, and so many issues and problems, political, like social, and all this kind of thing. And we kind of feel these effects in our lives as well, but it doesn't affect like too much of our lives. We can still enjoy our life and things and life in this life. And also living in a country, different country with its many different experiences. So I would suggest the students there don't make your minds up for countries like Turkey or Middle East countries that there are like too many problems or too many issues. Just be brave, and if you have opportunities to go there, take this chance to go there. Like don't feel so many problems like terrorism or other things. We just live our ordinary lives as we are in Canada. We just try to be a little bit more careful, just that. But this life also in different countries brings with itself many opportunities. I also lived 1 year in Ghana, Africa, and I learned so many life-changing experiences in that country as well. So my suggestion would be that just don't change your idea if you hear a country is news shows only one aspect of that country, but also there are many other aspects of that country which is very nice and beautiful and other things. So and this one, and for finding a good opportunity for or position, I would suggest enlarging the network. And I would like to tell how I found this job. I had many friends in Deloitte, a multinational consulting firm, and so they sent my CV to a Turkish company, and then by this connection they contacted me, and then through all these interviews and that I got this job. So I would suggest to enlarge your network and try to meet as many people as you can, and LinkedIn also is a very good opportunity. So this would be my suggestions.
Thank you. Jennifer, do you want to be next?
Sure, absolutely. We actually, sorry, I'm getting weird lighting things around me. I've got a sunset happening, and even though I've got about 3 or 4 different lamps around me, I'm getting this weird shadow effect, so sorry about that. But our organization actually has global workers in different countries, and we actually have a conference that's coming up at the end of October. And because of what's happening worldwide right now, this is actually the first time that we're actually going to be going through a safety training course over the course of the first 2 days of our conference. Because we have had some of our colleagues that have been pretty close to some of the action. The way that I look at it as an international worker, there was one mindset I had when I was single, and then there was another mindset that I had when I was married with kids. And when I was single, it was like, I don't care, let's just go, world is an adventure, and whatever happens, happens. And so now, though, being a parent, I've got 3 little ones, your mindset completely changes. And we as a family had to kind of sit down and think, okay, is this where we want to be? Is this the part of the world that we want to be in? You know, Romania is considered a relatively safe country, but so is France, and so is England, and so are some of these other places where things are happening and people were surprised in the moment of what was going on. And we basically came down to the fact that this is where we are right now. This is where our work is. We love our work. We're very fulfilled. And life is still an adventure. And there's 2 ways of looking at it. You can either be scared and try and stay in some safe country somewhere, or you can just live smartly. And so we try just to help others where we can, and we make sure that we have a plan. So in Romania, we are more likely to have a big earthquake than to have a terrorist attack. And so our plan, what happens if there's an earthquake? You know, we're also a country that's receiving migrant ships from people that are trying to flee other countries. And so what can we do in those types of situations? And so I think anywhere you're living in the world, whether it's in Canada or in another country, you got to just see opportunities for you to not only put your own career and your own life in a good position, but for helping others as well.
Thank you. In Cameron, an interesting part of the world right now with rockets flying over your head on a regular basis.
Yeah, that was last week.
And you're fairly new. You're fairly new at this, so yeah. You want to take the next?
Yeah, I mean, I think like Bob had said it best, at least in my experiences too, is that there's so much more positive than there are negatives when you kind of embark on these experiences. And if I had to go back to when I was working in Mexico, usually I have to emphasize to people because they say, "Wow, that sounds amazing, Mexico." And I said, "No, but it was northern Mexico, like, you know, right on the border of Texas, where it's not so beautiful." You know, in that experience, I was quarantined within my hotel and within the workplace 4 different times because of malicious activity happening out on the streets. So, I mean, you kind of take that in stride and you feed off the energy of the locals, and you see that, yeah, the next day they go back to work, they're, you know, living their regular lives, and you kind of run with that pace. And you learn over time as you get to see the world is that this is not that it's right, but you almost find that it's more normal to see behavior like that. I think in North America we are spoiled with how safe that we are. And how comfortable that we are. So as you do get to, you know, kind of get out and go see, it's more common to see not behavior to that extreme, but again, just stuff that we are not used to seeing in North America. Going, you know, relocating to Asia. You know, just with the opportunities that I have been coming here, I love the different cultures. Every country is something new. I love experiencing that. You know, I think I've always had a little bit of a travel bug, so I'm taking this opportunity to see everything that I can while I can do it, because I know that at some point, someday, I may not have the opportunity to do that. I may not be interested in doing this, and I may just not be able to, right? If I, you know, when I get to the point where I'm starting a family back home and that may be, I'm always going to say, well, I wish I did this. it's going to be such a short little window within my life, and I'm going to be certainly glad that I did do it, and it's coming with a wealth of experience at the same time. So,
thank you.
Other questions?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, excellent. Let's keep go. Just say your name when you. I'm still learning the names of the students. This is our second class of the semester, so forgive me if I. But just say your first name before, and then please go ahead.
So my name is Brittany, and I had a question for Jennifer. The care plan that you pretty much offer for the sick kids and stuff, like, would you be interested in taking that program to other countries?
Absolutely. If there was opportunities for that, I would love to do that. We try to collaborate as much as we can with other organizations and working together, and I think that's always because that's how you find what's best practice.
Do you want to follow up at all with that? Okay. Okay, well, we'll keep going because it's great. We're actually getting questions now. Often in global classes, it takes a little time, so this is a good sign. Please just say your name and go ahead.
Hi, my name's Natasha, and I just wanted to ask, are any of you bilingual?
Do you speak the language in your country?
I would not say that I do. Not yet.
I can swear enough in French when I'm playing hockey, and that's about it.
That's it.
Yeah. Qu'est-ce que c'est que cette
Matt,
merde?
you do
That's
speak
about all
the
I know.
language, though. Matt, you do speak the language, right?
Yeah,
for sure. Okay.
Jennifer, you have the language?
Yeah, I've had to learn the language. I can speak it fluently now.
Wow. I believe Risto.
Way to go.
I believe Risto.
Why do you ask that question?
Well, there are any different places that they might be familiar with, so how they maneuver themselves in that space.
And I'm assuming that you think it's important to learn the language.
Yeah.
Yeah, which for sure. Yeah.
If I could weigh in on that, I would say to learn the language, it's definitely going to be a huge benefit. And you go, in my experience, may not. It'll always be a benefit, but you could probably get by just going through the technical terms of or whatever it is of your job. What I think learning the local language will do is help relationships. Within your team members, your colleagues, your people you meet outside, all of that stuff. That's definitely going to help. But I have also learned that with us being fortunate enough to have learned and being English, it truly is the international language. And some places are certainly stronger than others, but I just find that you can get by. I mean, I've seen a lot. I've seen enough, and I'm still okay, right? So I think it's good because actually this is a unique experience right now in Japan. I was worried because I know that the Japanese culture, they're very traditional. They hang on to everything that they've lived for, so which includes their language. But there are a few people who have had the opportunity to start learning some English, and they are dying to have me teach them English. They really want to practice it. So people will come up to me and say random things like, "Do you like Gatorade?" Like, yeah, of course, right? They just want to try to practice some English, right? So I think I need to work out some exchange lessons out here. So it's good.
That's been my experience also. I've been some of my clients are in Europe, so I've been to Sweden and Switzerland on business quite a few times, and quite often their English is better than mine. So it's becoming less of an issue on an international stage. So as you were saying, we're quite fortunate to be English speakers.
Keep going, and just say your name first, okay?
My name is Catherine, and I'm a first-year journalism student. And I have a question relating to the bilingual question as well. It's such a big culture shock going into a different place and having to leave from where you came from. And I'm wondering, how were you able to immerse yourself into your culture, and how did you deal with all the emotional stresses of being away from where you once were and adjusting to the different environment?
I can speak to that
I
very
guess.
briefly. Oh, Jennifer, you go. You go, Jennifer.
Stress had to come up. If it didn't, I would have brought it up. So the stress of being a globally engaged, person is a great question. Adjusting. So go ahead.
And there's actually graphs that will tell you when you're going to get culture shock, when you're going to miss home the most, when you're going to miss the cereal aisle at your local grocery store the most. And it's actually good to know. When I first laughed at those graphs when people showed them to me, but then as I was going through things, I've now actually lived in Romania. I came here originally for 1 month, and I've now lived here for 17 years. And when I first came here, I laughed at the graphs that were shown to me. And now I realize that they were actually really important. And as I was going through things, I could consciously think, okay, I'm experiencing this because, and then it kind of helps you get through those moments. And one of the ways that you can immerse yourself in culture is just get to know the local people. And I say that when we have volunteers that are coming from Canada, don't just hang around other Canadians, don't hang around in the expat community. Get into local groups, get to know local people. It doesn't matter if you meet them through a book club or you meet them on the bus. Just get to know local people, and you're going to have a whole other world open up to you, because seeing a country as a tourist and seeing the country through the eyes of a local are completely different.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think even just moving to a different part of Canada, as I did, back in the early 80s, leaving Toronto, where I had all my friends, my family was close by up in Peterborough, like pre-internet, so moving to Vancouver left everything behind. And but getting involved with a professional association was what really, really helped me. I mean, our friends were up in Whistler because we were snowboarding and mountain biking with them. Getting involved with the Graphic Designers of Canada got me connected with other designers in Vancouver. And through them, I've actually created a lot of friendships. So I think that it wasn't necessarily cultural change, but just getting to know people and getting connected to my profession and getting referrals for projects and hearing about potential jobs and that type of thing. That was certainly a key stepping stone for me when I moved out west.
Rustu, were you an international student when you came here?
No.
No, okay.
I wasn't. But I was born in Turkey, and so, yeah.
So flip that question around. So you came from Turkey to Canada, and you had to adjust to our norms and to our language and such.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
How did you handle the stress?
Okay. Yeah. I came to Canada with my wife, so we came together. This was a big advantage for me, so we come up with the difficulties together. And the reason why we chose Canada is first of all, it's beautiful nature, and it's a very liberty environment of political and social aspects, and also lots of economical opportunities as well. That was the main reasons why we came to Canada. And we were really happy to be in Canada, and we found what we expect from Canada. And one thing about Canada is that it's very culturally really accepts all the different cultural background people. So this is the really biggest, really nice thing about Canada. And whenever I come, I talk with my colleagues or my friends in Turkey, they really want to go Canada. They are #1 country to go. And these are the main reasons why they want to go Canada. And so we really didn't have any issues to get indulged in Canadian culture. It really accepts, as I said, different cultural background people. And so yeah, we didn't have any issues in Canada as well. I have another experience in Africa because I cannot tell my experience in Turkey because I was grown up in Turkey. And so to that question, my answer would be I lived in Ghana for a year, and we were, as I told you, I was working at that time for University of Calgary, and we had a team in the middle of Ghana in the bush. We were living literally in the bush in a campsite with many Canadian people, and we were living of 3 villages, very traditional villages. And one thing is to really indulge that culture is to accept their values and their traditions and everything. So don't investigate or don't ask why they are doing this, why they are doing that. Just accept and leave. Some of my Canadian friends try to like question their habits or their things, and then they were not very happy, and so they had to leave very earlier. But I didn't do that, and I just accept their values, their ideas, and their living. So if you go to a country, just be a person to accept the things that are going around you, and you will be happy, and then you will enjoy more, you will get more experiences through. So, yes.
Thank you. Sorry, just to be, I hope I'm not distracting, but I'll explain just what we're doing. Right now, 50% of the screen for the live stream viewers is being occupied by first some class notes, a Word document that I had going where I started to list some of the key points that had been made. Originally, the plan today was to be showing images from the website, and we had some technical difficulties. So what I've done is I just have a few images that have been uploaded to the website, but I'm just showing them now as individual PDFs of the things that were sent by our guests. And what I will do for the time being is put some images up, and as well I'll switch back and forth between that and the class notes so that our live stream viewers as well as the guests as well, you can see too, can't you, Rustu and Jennifer, Bob, the image that I just put up of, this is Bob's images. And so be aware that I will put some images up, and I'll try to focus them around what you are actually talking about. So, for example, is it okay if I just sort of interrupt? We go a little bit just for a moment, and then we'll come back. Okay. Well, you know, we're kind of stick handling with some technical things, but it's working. Let me go back to the Word document for a second. Let's just remind ourselves of something that has come up, because this is a class, and we're here to learn, and we're here to learn together. And one of the strengths of human beings, apart from the optimism that all of you seem to show in varying degrees, which is wonderful. There are other things that are coming out of this class that are important for our students, and I'm trying to identify those and then put them as key terms. So, for example, just as a little bit of review for the moment of 30 seconds, some of the key points. When we talk about stress management, what's come up is Cameron's point of feeding off the energy of the locals, or as Jennifer said, get to know the people. And Cameron, you didn't quite say that underneath the topic of stress, but I think that it fits very well with what Jennifer said when she was answering the question about stress, and that is, if you want to deal with culture shock, which we all feel when we all travel, then get out there, meet the people, feed off their energy, and jump in and be brave, and that will get you through, or at least will start to get you through. The idea of lifelong learning, I think, Matt, all of you seem to say it, but somebody actually said it. I can't remember who, but that's also very important, is that when you're out there, you know, open yourself up to learning. Always, that college is not just a place where you get filled with knowledge, but it's just a place where you can learn how to be a lifelong learner, and then you're golden. You'll successful. Are there any other key points that I could add to this? And then we'll come back to the conversation. Optimism is a strength. Be brave, lifelong learning. This document will be posted as a resource afterwards. But is there anything that the students think should be added to this as some of the key things that we've learned so far? And then we'll get back to the conversation. Is there any takeaway so far?
I think the thing from my question was that a lot of them were saying to just like seize any opportunity that you have, really, because like, you don't know when you're going to get these chances again.
Seize any. I love being able to write on the screen like this because this is my sort of Kiefer Sutherland, Jack Bauer moment. You know, when you have a Born Identity, you know, where they write the things on the screen, like we're in, you know, Berlin and anyway. So I love writing on. Anyway, I think Kiefer Sutherland is a local, so to speak. So that's good.
I think adding to
What's
that thing about seizing any opportunity is don't be a wallflower. Don't be afraid to step up, to ask questions, you know, to voice an opinion, or just never be afraid. Like I remember I had one of my first production coordinators at Typetetra, you know, said there's no such thing as a stupid question, you know, and asking questions makes, I think it makes you it puts you on the radar of people who can give you opportunities. And they're going to give you those opportunities because they see that you're engaged, and it'll help your colleagues or your workmates or classmates, because they may not know how to answer those questions, and that'll get them thinking as well too. So you're helping not only yourself and getting yourself on the radar and giving yourself opportunities, but you're also helping your classmates and your colleagues as well too.
Matt, I'll just be the journalist for the moment. Have I quoted you correctly, more or less? Take a look at the document.
Yep, sounds good. Yep.
One of the things that Rustu said is to sort of accept that there are cultural differences and just accept them.
Accept the cultural differences.
You know, and you don't have to question everything. Just accept that you're in a different country and accept them and move on. I think that's a very, very important point. We are curious and we want to understand.
Yeah.
But sometimes by asking the question the wrong way, you actually offend.
Sure.
As opposed to just accept you are. There's different norms where you are.
That's a kind of almost Buddhist thing, Don.
Is it?
Acceptance.
Acceptance.
Chill out.
Chill out.
Yeah, it's acceptance. So
enjoy the ride.
There's a Buddhist in you.
There must be somewhere.
Yeah. All right. Okay, we'll come back to the conversation. But if there's anything that you'd like to add as takeaway for this is something for you. This is learning. Raise a hand, and we'll post this. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Go ahead. Abhinav, you want to?
I had a question.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
So I had a question for everybody, but I'd like to start off with Jennifer. I have a two-part question. The first is when you're in things like helping the minority, I believe there are two different aspects to the job. One is educating the locals to accept the minority, and the second part is empowering the minority so that they're not a minority anymore. Right? So my first question is if you agree with the analysis. My second question is how did you navigate the waters when you first started this organization? Because you were in uncharted territories, because you were trying to help someone who was a minority, but also who the public was okay with discriminating against. And one of the videos I saw on YouTube where the little girl speaks English really warmed my heart.
Jennifer working in Bucharest. Yeah, one of Jennifer's videos.
So that was my second question. And the third question is, does the government help you navigate these waters and trying to provide any type of support? Because a couple of months back, the government had a no confidence vote. So I'm not sure how much protection or how much benefits you receive from the government to carry out your jobs. So that's my three questions.
Okay.
Wow. Good question.
Okay. We don't get any help from the government. Unfortunately, and you saw it through the no confidence vote, Romania is a very corrupt country. The government is very corrupt. There was once a political leader that did not win the seat, and when he was being interviewed on live television, he let it slip. He just said, well, the other guy gave more bribes than I did, so it's to be expected. So that's the type of political culture that I'm living in. You're still expected to give bribes when you go to the hospital. You're still expected to give bribes to enroll your child into kindergarten. And so what ends up happening is it's the grassroots organizations that are trying to rise up and make a difference. The government does do some things on paper, but a lot of it is just to appease the EU. A lot of it isn't actually practiced, unfortunately. So all the changes that I've seen happen are all through grassroots organizations. Another thing that you mentioned is advocacy for the people being discriminated against, and it's been slow. It's been a process. There's a lot of mindsets that go back hundreds and hundreds of years, and people are very slow to change, unfortunately, and they're slow to change their mindsets. We were once in a metro, in a subway, with some Canadians, and we were bringing some of the Roma children that we work with to a puppet show. Something so simple that, it shouldn't be a big deal. And some of the Canadians, as we came off, they came and they said, I couldn't believe that happened. I couldn't believe that I saw it with my own eyes. And I was like, what did you see? Because I didn't see anything. And she said that when the kids came onto the metro, onto the subway, and they held onto the bar, everybody in the area moved away from the kids. And she asked me, is it because they're gypsy kids? And I said, unfortunately, yeah, it is. Because they're still seen as dirty, as uneducated, people are afraid that they're going to be pickpocketed from them. And so it's just a cultural norm now for people to move away when they come close. And it's really unfortunate that that happens. And it's not something that you see in Canada, which is why I think the Canadian volunteers actually picked up on it faster than I did. It's something that I've actually become a little bit used to seeing. So we do try and change mindsets, but it's going to take generations, to be honest. It's not something that's going to happen quickly. For the other part with the people group needing to rise up and to kind of make changes and to stand for themselves, that's also going to take generations. There's lots of quick fixes that can be done, but honestly, it's a Band-Aid that would fall off. And it needs to start with education. I mean, it's the same way I remember being in school in Canada, and in grade 5, we had education on not to litter, on recycling, on reducing, and we had songs that we sang, and it's part of Canadian culture that you don't litter. And there was one time that my husband and I, we were driving through Oshawa, and we said, let's see if we can find any litter on the ground in Oshawa. And it took us 2 days when we came back to Canada. And it's because not littering is a part of Canadian culture. We're raised from young children to throw our garbage in the garbage. And here's part of the culture that parents will say to their child, behave, or I'm going to take you to the gypsies. And so this is what we're coming up against. So our work here isn't easy. Everybody just needs to do what they can. Our world isn't going to change all at once. Our world also won't change if everybody says the change is too slow and they sit back and they don't do anything. So we all have to do our part. We all do a little bit. We all do what we can. And bit by bit, changes will be made.
Good question. I'm continuing to put good takeaway quotes and pearls of wisdom from each of you up there. If you do see anything that is not accurate, don't hesitate to tell them, okay? But I just want to remind something of something that Bob said earlier on, which is a lovely line. Buy a plane ticket and show up. Eventually you will crack something.
Yep.
Right, Bob?
Well, I think it's a Woody Allen quote, the secret to success is just showing up. So I strongly believe in that. If you don't turn up, you haven't got a hope of succeeding. So, well.
I remember, just as an aside, it's something that comes back historically. You all remember the name Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton,
her book just came out. Yes. Her
book just came out, but her husband, when he was in the middle of his, endless scandals around, not fake news, something else. he said during these scandals, when he was getting battered by the media and by a lot of things, and he was eventually actually formally impeached, but he continued to stay on in power as president. He said that 90% of it is just showing up. If you just show up at any time, in any place, you know, you'll get through whatever you need to get through. But if you show up, it can't happen. You know, you've lost. So I think it's a really interesting bit of wisdom. You know, if you are having trouble in anything, get out of your lonely space and into the place where you need to make change. Just be there, and things will happen. Anyways.
I have a question for them.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a question for all of you. There's a lot of discussion taking place in Canada around the nomenclature of our credentials. You graduated with a diploma or advanced diploma when you left here. So when you went on the international stage and you showed your Ontario diploma, did people question it versus that of a university degree? Was it a barrier to you at all, or was it an opportunity for you?
For me, being a Canadian-trained nurse. Sorry.
Go ahead. So Jennifer, go ahead, and then Cameron, we'll come to you. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Please. Yeah.
For me, being in Canada, it was always seen as a really good credential to have. Canadian-trained nurses are very highly revered. And so it's always been really good. In order to practice, I do need to also get credentialed in the local country. But that's a good thing, because if there's a nurse from Romania that comes to Canada, I want her to be credentialed in Canada as well. I don't want, you know, just anybody practicing their nursing on me. But it's been very, very well received here.
Okay, Cameron.
Before you answer, I just want to say we're basically out of time. We can keep going. We're supposed to only go for...
Oh, are we? Okay.
We can continue. It's not a problem. I just want to make sure everyone's clear on time here. Some students may have to go to classes. Okay? We're already 5 minutes over. This is not unusual for a global class. This is a good sign. Over and people are here. However, just to be fair to our students and, of course, to you, Don, and to other faculty and deans, you're free to, because the class was supposed to end 5 minutes ago.
Well, let's just wrap it up.
So why don't we wrap it up, okay? So I want to apologize to all the guests that we're wrapping up, but we'll do this again.
Let me just say thank you to all of you, and thank you to Lon. And, you know, the global classroom is something that we've been, and Lon's been experimenting with for a number of years at Durham. And it really is such a rich conversation that he has. And for our students who typically don't travel, it really gives them an opportunity to listen to different perspectives, different worldviews, and learn from people from around the world. So thank you for participating in this global classroom and for celebrating our 50th anniversary through this Bruin Memory Tours for Durham College. So we're proud of all of you. It's impressed by all of what you've done. Leaving Durham College, and we wish you great success in your future too, and hopefully we'll see you in the future.
Yeah.
And to the students, thank you very much, Lon. Thank you. Yeah. Lon, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. We'll see you in another global class, and we'll be reading about your successes. Thanks again, guys.
Take care.
Anytime.
Thank you so much. Good luck, students.
Thank you.
Guys, virtually.
You as well.
I guess we're the last ones. There we go.